So, surprise number one, as we have our winners come off the stage, and we're also going to be gathering as a final roundtable our faculty, is virtual reality, because that's one of the requested areas that we cover. So, on the tables there, I think some of you have the Google glasses, and I'm going to ask my friend Brim to come up. Is he here? He's going to give you very brief instructions and see how you can personally experience the virtual world.
Anthony, I want to personally say thank you. Here you go. Guys,
Nice.
if you would have asked me 10 years ago, would I be on this stage talking to you about another reality, it actually gives me chills. Because I would have never thought that me personally I'd be here talking to a lot of folks and many other folks that I've talked to before. It's really, really just an amazing thing. And we truly live in a golden era. I mean, the same as the steam engine. You're going to see VR right now, and it's going to be very simple. You're going to see a lot of gamers. But the gamers get bored, and that's a big problem. And that's where us deep thinkers come into play and start to create experiences and things for real world use. Like it's been repeatedly said throughout this convention, augmented reality is going to be the lion's share. You're going to start to see different technologies. Guys, if you can go ahead and cue up the screen. You're going to see a lot of different things happening. Primarily, what you're going to see is the OLED transparent glass. Now, what does that mean for you guys? It's not just a television. These things are going to be able to be retrofitted on the wall. And, soon, like a lot of firms and offices, things are going to be paperless. Having a piece of paper, it's almost going to be just like smoking. People will frown at it, When you can throw the information on the wall, or maybe even the nurse or the surgeons themselves are only capable of seeing the information that they have for themselves, where the patient, they see something completely different. As a matter of fact, we're currently building a full-fledged experience for 2044 and for everyone that's here. So that'll be completed here in the next couple of weeks, and you'll be able to experience what that kind of future will be. A couple of the things that will happen in the next couple of years, especially on the realms of psychology, pain distraction, so many things, is that the experience, which, as we all know, being that probably most of you folks deal with patients all the time, it's really hard to have that bedside manner. You're multitasking so many things. But that will change. It'll completely change for everyone in this room, because now, when you place that patient in the room, they're going to have a conducive experience that is beneficial to them and to up their attitude or make it better. Maybe it's a really horrible surgery they're about to go through, but that experience will be conditioned because of the technology that's about to happen. You'll start to see walls, and for instance, a child will sit on a bed, and we need to bring that child down. Now, guys, it's implausible to think that you're going to stick a headset on them to calm them down. It's that simple. It's not going to happen. That's a gimmick. These will only happen for a little while. When that technology changes and that child goes to sit in that room, it's going to change into a forest scene with castles, with butterflies. You're going to start hearing terms like VA. Now, what's a VA? It's a virtual assistant. So if someone's feeling down, through facial recognition, when someone smiles or someone frowns, that VA will be in tune to talk to the client or the person themselves. Thousands of humans will program that information in so that they get it right. So you'll start to see little nuances, little things you're going to start to see in the commercial world, these little VAs popping in, asking if you need anything conveniently. But these technologies will be used for bigger and better things. So with that in mind, we started off creating a wonderful experience for you folks here. One of the themes of this is the hospital of the future. So what would that be? Is it going to be a place that's insanely busy? Well, I hope not. As a matter of fact, I hope everyone here gets a break. So my idea of the hospital of the future is a wonderful, wonderful place that's calm, peaceful, and relaxing. But how is that conducive to you? Well, it's conducive because, as with a lot of things that are happening now, everything is becoming remote. So you'll start to see a lot of surgeries that are handled robotically with surgeons overlooking that. And then when there's a specialty surgeon, that surgeon will be called in to basically take over the operation and just even touch the robotic arm using augmented reality. There's things like nanosand. So in an augmented reality experience, now you have a hologram of the person that's there, but how do you touch, how do you feel? How do you relevate that in that personal reality? Well, that sand forms, and I don't know if you've ever seen Big Hero 6, where they have all these little magnets that form things. This sand will form a person. It'll be light to the touch, it'll be very silicone-y, but when you put those glasses on and it forms the person, you'll be able to touch them as if they were actually there. Guys, the future is not that far away. We really do live in a golden era. So everyone that's here, I want you to enjoy this, and I want you to stay in tune, because in the next month and a half, this will be completed, and you folks can actually enjoy and actually see some of the things that the future will provide.
Thank you. I know some of you didn't have a chance to assemble but everything will be loaded on the website, so you'll have a lot of opportunities to look at all this at home at your leisure. So I thought we'd go on to one of my favorite parts, which is just bringing back, obviously we had 85 members of the faculty. It was hard to bring everyone back on stage, but just incredible finish, and then we have a nice little surprise for you at the end of the session. So I thought I'd give the honors to Dan, since you're our guest speaker. We have people from all over the country and actually all over the world here, so in terms of, I'll sit on the other side, and I'll ask some questions too, if you don't have any questions ready. But
Okay.
maybe just in the interest of time, is your mouth still open, Dan? Okay, it's closed. I'm gonna sit over here. So maybe given the number of people have, how about just, tweeting out your last thoughts from the last couple of days. We have another day to go yet on data intelligence, but let's just give everyone at least an opportunity to say what's left the most in terms of impression in your mind in the last couple of days. And we'll just quickly go around and...
Well, I would say as one of the government representatives here, it's really refreshing to see everybody trying to work together and collaborate and do things in a new way. I mean, in the federal government, we're not known for being particularly innovative, but we're trying hard to try new things and to work together to really to solve some of these vexing problems in pediatrics and in all areas of healthcare.
So I would say over the last day and a half, what strikes me is the fact that the time is now. So, we've heard a lot of innovation from biomedical engineering to oncology to vaccines to therapeutics, but we didn't talk a lot about the innovation of partnership and the innovation of collaboration. And I think now is really the time for us to do that so we can move our fields forward.
Building on that, Wendy, Sue, and I were talking earlier and had concluded that we are just some of the nicest people that anybody could ever want to work with, ever.
The two of you or all of us?
All of us.
All of us, okay.
All of us. and that if there is a chance for collaboration in medicine and innovation that is likely to occur with us, we are the best bet in town. And so beginning to assume the collaboration within this group, within iSpy, is probably the first step. But then what do we do now as we each return to our own organizations? What's the first thing we're going to do in order to take this and spread this? Because that's what it's going to take.
Great.
Mine is really about the brilliance that we've seen this conference of the Generation Z. They are, as we've seen, and I was participating in the Young Innovations Workshop on Wednesday and facilitating with one of the tables. And, the ages of 8 to maybe 18 at that table, we were ideating around what our solution would be. We came up with an app that would interact with a robot. And they're storyboarding and they're modeling with clay and creating a robot. And in the meantime, I'm watching probably a 9-year-old girl. I walk around the table. She's already coded an app, and it already had a picture. And I don't know if I sent the pictures. I'm not sure if they have them here, but
Can we have them up, the pictures?
anyway, I was floored. So, and the other thing is that they all brought their laptops and they just had, technology is just an extension I read something, they look at technology as air and water. That's how much it means to them, so,
I mean, a 2-year-old now can take a selfie.
yeah.
So what does that tell us? I mean, in California, I think, Dan, you might know this, in first grade, they're going to start putting in programming as a requirement. So, you know, these things are tremendous assets. And
So
we
utilizing them
can
in
find those
innovation,
pictures.
yeah.
Let's just throw it up whenever you're ready. So it's really an amazing sight to see a 9-year-old just programming and just solving a problem on the spot,
On the
right?
spot.
She wasn't thinking, well, I'll go home and take care of this.
Right.
She was just going to take care of it on the spot during the workshop. So, David.
Well, I'm first of all very disappointed I didn't get to try on the Google glasses. It would make me hear better. You know, I am struck by one of the assets that we haven't talked about at this conference as one that is sometimes met cynically, and I don't think it should be, and that asset is waste. 50% of the dollars spent on healthcare in this country, which constitute 18% of the gross national product, 50% create no value, according to the McKinsey Company when they were commissioned by the government to do a study of that. That is an enormous opportunity. What we're trying to do in our culture, in our hospital, is celebrate waste, not be blameful about its discovery, but recognize that when it is discovered, it's an opportunity to innovate, to change the way we're doing things, to make things better, and to use those resources more effectively. And I think that our future through innovation is not like what Archimedes once said. He said, give me a lever large enough and I'll move the earth. And I think the lever we have in healthcare is the waste in the system, and we have to learn not to be self-conscious about it or defensive about it, but discover it and leverage it in ways that can take us to the promising future we're looking at this conference.
Great. Spiro?
Well, my comment would be around leadership. I think invention can happen by accident, but innovation never happens by accident. It requires driving. We talked about the analogy of the brakes and the acceleration, the regulators and the innovators, but what really is needed is leadership. Leadership from the C-suite, and each hospital has to invest in, I mean, what is happening at Chalk, being a leader in innovation, is hopefully going to spread to other hospitals to invest in leadership. Put a person in charge like Anthony and say, okay, we're in charge now, we're going to focus on, and then we have the Disneyland Foundation, leadership and philanthropy, because we can't do this just based on the NIH. Although you guys are doing a great job, the funding for pediatric innovations is just dwindling. So we need the whole community to come together. We need industry to come together. Having representation from Pfizer here is just incredible. So I think that if we can bring all the leaders together, we can just really drive innovation.
I want to thank Anthony for bringing us together once again and helping us stretch our minds in a couple of ways. One is on the ability to collaborate across many institutions. The second is innovation means a number of different things, and we've had the chance to see what that means. The third is making us stretch forward, you know, to think outside the bounds of the current capabilities to 2040. Having said that, I'd like to challenge us to also think about 2020 and 2018, and picking up on David's remark about waste as a wonderful resource to look at. We also have this whole shift towards accountable care, and you know, in the area of kids with complexity, the ACE Kids Act coming down, which are really powerful incentives to innovate in care. So I'd like to wrap this up by saying I think that we need to find a way of documenting and disseminating not just good ideas, but good practical innovations that have successfully gotten through to actually solve problems and generate value.
Great. Thanks, Don. Gavin?
Well, I think the most amazing thing to me about this conference is, and everybody that I've met, all the providers and administrators I've talked to, how kid-focused everybody is. It's truly amazing having the kids here, Anthony. I think that's a stroke of genius. But everybody, the way the people I've met are focused on the kids and the experience of the kids. And you know, you often think of medicine flowing from adult certainly from the pharma industry, you think about it flowing from the adult to the kids. But actually, I think there's something that the adult medicine can learn from this conference, and that's that kind of focus, which I don't think, you don't focus on things. The whole conference has been focused, and the conversation has been focused on the patients or the kids, and I'm amazed.
Great. Marguerite, do you have a mic?
As a parent, I think we are become informed consumers. So what we're looking for is providers who are innovative and who build a collaborative culture. And I see a collaborative culture as two ways. I see it as families being involved in the development of innovations, and then also parents being involved in implementing that innovation, because ultimately you'll need buy-in. So how are you going to get buy-in? Buy-in just really boils down to voice. So if we're all on that same boat and we all have our oars, trust me, if I stick my oar in and I'm pulling down on it, our boat's going to start spinning. So get everybody to row together and give us a voice and listen to what we have to say, because we may not be the ultimate decision maker, but you've built a relationship and trust with us that we're going to say, let's go forward, and we're stroking along with you. And I'm just going to get a little caveat with that. Include siblings, because trust me on this, my son tells my daughter more than he ever will share with me, and he'll listen to her before he'll listen to me.
Thanks, Marguerite. Susan?
I am a nurse, so therefore I am extremely biased. So take this. I think for whether you're a startup or a seasoned, whether you're an engineer, physician, wherever your lens is, the most dedicated and the most constant healthcare providers, the massive group, are the nurses. I really encourage you to bring the nurses in early in your process, have them on your boards, have them in your labs, and utilize them, because their passion is for the well-being of the patient, and they have that critical thinking, clinical reasoning that has insight that can make all the difference in the device, the process, whatever you bring to the value of pediatric care.
Thanks, Susan. Dan? Oh, James from Texas Children's?
Sure. I think the two things that struck me the most out of all the conversations, and by far there's been so many wonderful points, it was kind of hard to find something that hadn't been said. But I would say that we have several advantages in this area that are really unique, besides just a fantastic mission and just wonderful patients, but also a manageable ecosystem, a manageable number of 80-something freestanding hospitals, 200 pediatric hospitals as part of systems are freestanding, a large number of stakeholders, both nurses and physicians, that manage to bounce between different institutions. So you'll find people that have been at 3 or 4 different stops of their career and have those strong relationships across a fabric that is emerging and continues to emerging with this discussion. And I also would like to say that seems to be a mandate that comes out of this protected environment with strong developmental dollars and philanthropy, reimbursement from the government, expertise and passion, fantastic patients that nobody's going to create the products for us except for us. In essence, it comes down to the people in this room are going to be the drivers for the care of the people that they meet. And so it kind of comes down to, if not us, then who, and if not now, then when.
One of the other things I was struck by is just this beautiful, inspiring location for innovation. I mean, what a great place, right? And if you look at the Ritz-Carlton here and the investment it took to build it, the marble and the massive structure, this real estate by itself, even just the roses, they change out every day. If I thought I was going to try to compete with this hotel and get into this business and start one to compete with it, it would take a pretty sizable investment. But this Ritz-Carlton is only one of 4,000 properties managed by Marriott in 80 countries. But in the last 8 years ago, Airbnb didn't exist. But more people will sleep at Airbnb tonight than all the Marriotts in the world. It's in 190 countries and more than twice as many rooms. They competed with this by connecting people and connecting resources. And what I said before, I still really believe that innovations like sex, if we can get
I knew that was going to come back, though.
It had to come back, right? If we can get people connected and collaborating and sharing resources and genes and ideas, nurses and parents. I love that this conference started with parents and kids up on the stage and is ending with parents on the stage and kids here. And people outside of healthcare. I would love to see next year have people that have nothing to do with the healthcare industry here too that we can learn from. But yeah, let's connect.
Thanks, Alan.
One element here which is, I think, exciting again is the breadth of experience in pediatric centers from around the country, and the opportunity to sort of crowdsource or ped source these innovations just to catalyze them and speed them up. But also to have the lens, because in pediatrics, as we know, there's so much developmental elements that happen that we need to even be more personalized in terms of personalized medicine, precision medicine. How do we start to take, whether it's consumer-based lessons or lessons from video games, and tune our therapies and interventions and preventions to the individual, dependent, and meeting them where they are, from their age to their culture to their educational level, to their genetics and genomics and proteomes, et cetera. So I think it's a really, pediatrics is such a ripe spot to drive truly personalized and precision medicine. If we collaborate and bring that outside of the pediatric bucket, and as was mentioned, bring outside elements in from video gamers to the adult world.
Thanks. Wendy.
Thanks, Anthony. I hope this is packaged like a thank you note. I do think that we're nice. I think we all chose pediatrics for a reason, because of the energy and vitality of being in service to children. And like I talked a little bit about nurturing grit, and that we're learning that we care less about intelligence and more about tenacity and persistence. And this is a place to nurture that and to get really excited that you're right, you can disrupt a whole business, and we can really innovate in a way that reduces suffering more rapidly. So it's really my hope that we continue to nurture this place, nurture this grit, and kind of care for each other's ideas in the service of these children. And I'll end just really by saying a couple of different conversations I've had in the hallway, and since the panel with our parents at the beginning, that, when I asked the parents at the end, you've got a room of global, empowered, resourced, passionate innovators who came to this place to reignite themselves and their ideas. What would you whisper into their ear? Build trust with me. Put your hand on my shoulder. Build transparency and show me love. We are in the service of reducing suffering, and what we have to do is make this elegant and frictionless and make space for this emboldened love affair that we've got between each other.
Beautifully said. Well, for me, one, just totally overwhelmed by the expected enthusiasm, but totally not at this level from all of you. And that speaks a lot for me, because that means we all really are after the same mission and vision, however you want to phrase it. And I think a couple of things. One is we really, and some of you know this from me, really need to get away from any competition spirit in pediatrics and the whole ranking system, and I get this grant, you don't have it, you must come to my campus to do this, really ought to be, I hope, abolished in the next few years, because we really, as Alan said so appropriately, we don't have that much time, and it's kind of a misconception to think, oh, we have the next 10 or 20 years to do some innovation to help kids. More doctors, as you know, are disillusioned with being a physician than ever before, in the 90-some% range. So we really need to rescue medicine and rescue pediatrics and do it in a very creative and collaborative way. And that means totally knocking down the boundaries between pediatric institutions. So the reason I'm excited about iSpy is hopefully that's the beginning stage of really blurring the boundaries between children's hospitals, because ultimately we don't really have boundaries. We're all after caring for children, and especially when you talk to parents, they definitely don't want us to have so much institutional loyalty that it gets in the way of taking great care of children.